Rookie quarterback Jaxson Dart is still in the concussion protocol. However, he is clearly advancing to the point where the Giants think there's a good chance that he'll be able to play Sunday against the Detroit Lions. How much can that help their cause? Let's talk about it next on the Big Blue Breakdown live. Hi again, everybody. I'm Paul Dottino. Welcome to the Big Blue Breakdown Live as we analyze the state of the New York Giants as they prepare for Sunday's road game against the Detroit Lions. We all know the Giants have lost 5 in a row, and now they're 2-9 on the season, and things are in a real bad way. Okay, that's what it is. Those are the facts. There's no sense in even trying to curve around those deals. That's what's going on with this team. But here's the thing. They've got themselves a star rookie first-round pick quarterback who is expected to come off the protocol. He did a non-contact drills today over at practice. And according to Mike Kafka, if he should be able to get cleared, he is on track to play. Now, I understand that. Jameis Winston would then become the backup according to the coach. So Russell Wilson is going to remain as the number 3. And you know what? We all know where the season's at. And so for the rest of the season, the remaining 6 games, this is going to be not just an audition for Mike Kafka, but it's also learning and experience for Jaxson Dart. Now, here's an interesting point. I've had a bunch of people come up to me and send me messages and call me and say, hey, why is Jaxson Dart going to play at all? He's been to the concussion tent 4 times so far. He has been diagnosed with 1 concussion. Maybe you should just bench him for the rest of the season and play Jameis Winston. I've actually had people say that to me. I don't think you can do that. This is the National Football League. If Jaxson Dart is cleared, medically healthy, coming off of 1 concussion, this is not a multiple concussion situation, it's 1. I understand why the Giants would allow him to play. Now, I do think there are 2 hedges if you want to go there. There are going to be some people who clearly would not want to play him at all the rest of the season and say he's had enough experience as a rookie, let him go into year 2 and build off of what he has already done. That's it. Okay. If you people want to say that, you could say that. There's another group that's going to say he needs to take every snap possible because every single one of those snaps is a building block toward him having a much more productive 2026. Fine. There's a group that can say that too. There's nothing wrong with that. Then I suspect there might be a group or 2, if you will, in the middle. Those people may want more of a compromise. Now, what would be the compromise? Well, I'm going to offer you 3 potential compromises to the play or don't play scenarios. And I'm not saying that the Giants are even considering these, so please make sure you understand that. These are simply hypotheticals for those of you who can't seem to understand which side of the fence is saying what they're saying. So compromise number 1 perhaps would be sit him 1 extra week. Even though he's cleared, sit him 1 extra week and be quadruple cautious and don't have him play until the following weekend when they go to Monday Night Football and play the New England Patriots. Give him the extra week off. That would be one hypothetical compromise. And I'm not advocating any of these. I'm simply offering you hypotheticals. I think hypothetical number 2 as a compromise would be, okay, let him play. Tell him you prefer him not to scramble, which I don't think is going to go so well, but tell him be careful when you scramble. And oh, by the way, we're not going to call any running plays for you. So that if you get sacked, you get sacked. If you do scramble 3 or 4 times, hopefully you won't get rocked. But we're not going to call any quarterback running plays for you. No read options, no RPOs. You will not have any planned running plays in this game. Now, you don't have to tell the Detroit Lions that, obviously, for competitive advantage. You don't. But you could have a pact worked out with the QB that we will not give you any running plays. This should minimize the number of hits he takes in this game. Now, how long would you want to continue with that policy? Probably not more than a week. But you certainly could implement it on Sunday against Detroit. And if you wanted to implement it longer, hypothetically, you could. So there's compromise number 2. I don't know how practical that is, but it certainly would be possible. Hypothetical compromise number 3. You start Jaxson Dart in a game, see how the game is playing out, and if the game seems out of control at some point during the second half, wherever it is, you get him out. If it's the start of the fourth quarter, midway through the fourth quarter, whatever it is, you say, okay, hold on, enough is enough. You've learned something today during the competitive portion of the game. Now the game is out of hand. There's nothing much to be learned at this point forward. So you take a seat on the bench. We get you out of there. And now we're going to put Jameis Winston in. That would be hypothetical compromise number 3. So, folks, I ask you, all of you who are tuned into tonight's edition of the Big Blue Breakdown, and again, I'm so happy to have all of you back once again tonight. Where do you stand with this? There were really 5 hypothetical options, right? Don't play him at all. Play him. Don't give him any planned, designed running plays. Give him an extra week off. Or finally, get him out if the game is out of control either way. To me, those are the only 5, and I say only 5. Heck, 5 is an awful lot of choices. Let's not kid ourselves. 5 is a lot of options. I think hypothetically, those are the 5 options that they have regarding Jaxson Dart. I don't know which one, they are going to take. Interim head coach Mike Kafka made it very clear if he gets through the protocol and he's medically able to play, he's going to start and Jameis Winston will be the backup. That, of course, does not in any way tip you off as to whether or not they will give him design running plays, nor does it tip you off as to whether or not they would plan to get him out of a game that is a blowout either way. There's no way to tell if those hypotheticals could be in play when the Giants kick the ball off Sunday at 1 o'clock in Detroit. So, folks, that's what I'd like to do. Okay? That's what I would like to do tonight. I'd like to see somebody wants to get me up on the chats, get me up on an audio call or a video call. That's kind of my big question for the night. How would you deal with the Jaxson Dart scenario? There is no right or wrong answer. Let me make that very clear. I will not bite anybody's head off. There is no right or wrong answer. The only correct answer is an answer that you believe in and you at least have some rationale or logic behind it. That automatically makes it a correct answer. Because in truth, this is one of those, and as we say, it's one of those things that can only be 100% correct in hindsight. Whatever the Giants decide to do on Monday morning, you'll be able to say, oh, it worked out well. They did the right thing. Oh, it didn't work out so well. They did the wrong thing. Hindsight is always 20/20. And of course, that's why I don't play hindsight, because I think it's bogus. It is false security and false smarts. So that's where I'm at. Let me go over a few things from today, and then I'm going to get to your chats. Folks, we're probably only going to do 1 hour tonight. Just so you know, we're already about 10 minutes into the program. I think we're only going to do 1 hour on this one tonight because I don't know that there are an awful lot of multiple topics to go into that's going to be worth going the full 90 minutes like we have on many of other occasions. All right, so here we go. Guys who did not practice today: Adebo, Fedoni, Flanagan Fowles, which is a problem. He's already your third string inside linebacker next to Bobby Okereke. Do I really need to tell you what the Giants have to do if Flanagan Fowles is not available? They will be down to their fourth inside linebacker next to Okereke, and that would be Zaire Barnes. That's what it could come to against a Detroit Lions rushing attack, which, by the way, has a terrific two-headed monster in Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and ranks a whopping 7th in the National Football League at 130 yards a game, 4.5 yards a carry, 4.6 to be exact, which ranks 10th in the NFL. No, this is not a team that you want to be shorthanded against the run against. What it looks like, Giants have a realistic shot of being down to their fourth string inside linebacker to pair with Bobby Okereke. We will see how Flanagan Fowles is able to progress over the rest of the week. The Giants are listing him with illness. One would think that would be 2 or 3 days. He gets over it and he's able to play. But we never know. Peyton, Slayton, Thibodeau, also not working today because of various bumps and bruises. Giants also saying that Cordell Flott did not work today because of personal reasons. He was excused from practice. Hopefully, whatever that is all about, it will get taken care of. It will be done in a positive way, and he will be able to come back and man his usual starting job as one of the Giants' corners. Limited practice. Well, we mentioned it earlier. Dart, non-contact because he's in the protocol. He was limited. Tate Banks was limited, sore hip. Chauncey Golston limited by a sore neck. Tyler Nubin limited by an achy neck. Nacho limited by a sore toe. And how about this? Running back Eric Gray. This poor guy has been an absolute forgotten man in that locker room because of a very serious knee injury He practiced in full today. Eric Gray practiced in full today. He has gone through heck and back trying to rehab that knee, and he was able to have a full practice today. So I am glad for him. I wish him well in his recovery and his return, because this was the first big step in Eric Gray trying to continue his NFL career. All right, a couple of notes I wanted to give you from the locker room today. And again, I will get to you guys in just a bit. I know the chats are starting to pile up, but I do want to get this stuff out of the way. I talked to Jermaine Eluemenor this afternoon. He was discussing the fact that he's going to be a free agent at the end of the season. Has had no talks with the front office to this point about an extension. Says he does want to stay. He's a New Jersey native, loves playing for the Giants, and says he believes that he has held his own against top-tier pass rushers this season, and thinks the biggest jump that he made in his game is improved consistency. And I think, quite frankly, the entire offensive line has now become a middle-of-the-pack offensive line, coming from the basement. Carmen Brasillo, the lead offensive line coach, has done a sensational job, and that's with a capital S, of bringing this team from the basement now to the middle of the pack. They're not great. We know that. They're not great. They can't dominate anytime they want to. But you guys know what the magic word is. Come on, say it. Say it. Yell it through the screen. Functional. Yeah. This Giants offensive line is definitely functional. There is no doubt about that. Now, are there days when you wish the run blocking was a little bit better? There's no doubt. Are there perhaps some days when you wish the pass protection was a little bit better? Sure, no doubt. But I do want to tell you that of the 33 now, let me mark it. Yeah, it's 33 sacks that the Giants have given up so far this year, which, by the way, is, let's see, it is the 7th most in the National Football League. Of those 33, Jaxson Dart has been sacked 21 of those 33 times. Okay? I feel it's important to tell you that I have actually marked Dart down for 10 of those sacks, where he either got tripped up, he ran into a sack, or he held the ball way too long and didn't get rid of it when he had a chance. And I think that's very important, because it makes the Giants' offensive line look a lot less competent when you see 33 sacks, 7th most in the league. But any of you who understand football know that there are coverage sacks, there are team sacks, and there are quarterback responsible sacks. I've got Dart responsible for 10 of those 33 sacks. And when you factor that into the equation, well, the Giants' number certainly doesn't look as bad, does it? I've got Eluemenor, by the way, of all the offensive linemen on the team, I've got him down for 4.5 sacks allowed. And that would be the most of anyone on the team next to Jaxson Dart, who I have held responsible for 10 of the sacks. But that doesn't mean Eluemenor has not had a solid season, because he has. Anyway, I want to give him a big high five, or for that matter, a high 10 to Jermaine Eluemenor. Yesterday, he was here in Bergen County, and he stopped by a New Jersey food bank, a pantry, if you will, and donated 200 turkeys and side dishes to a slew of families who could have used some Thanksgiving cheer. And I can't tell you my heart warms for that, because obviously Jermaine is a proud New Jersey guy. He knows and understands how some people are not nearly as fortunate as some of today's professional players who do make a very good living out of what they do. And Eluemenor stepping up here, and again, I congratulate him and I salute him, providing 200 turkeys and sides for a really grateful group of families here in North Jersey for their Thanksgiving holiday. Those people will now be able to enjoy a feast that they may not otherwise have had. So I do want to make mention of that, because I think it's critically important at this time of year when people do give back to make sure that it's known. All right, let's talk about some of the other things in the locker room today. Brian Burns was talking about he is now with a career high 13 sacks. That is second in the NFL to Myles Garrett. And he was saying that finishing off those plays and getting those sacks is just a result of all the extra hard work he did during the offseason. He said there were times over the last couple of years he knows he did not finish as well as he wanted to, and he left some sacks on the table. Not so much this year. He's doing extremely well. He's on pace to get 20. Abdul Carter said he took ownership of the issue involving the practice time last week where he did not come out on time. He's moved on from it. Mike Kafka, the interim head coach, says that he has practiced extremely hard and well, and there is no residue from that issue of last week. Carter, moreover, saying that he understands nothing good comes easy. That was a bump in the road, and he knows better times are ahead, and says that he's not even concerned about his stat line. He just wants to win and wants to do everything he can to help the Giants win. And even if it doesn't help pad his stats, he says he's not enjoying losing, and they need to turn this thing around. So we'll see how well he does this week against the Lions. A couple of other notes. Mike Kafka, once again, talking about the pro wrestling issue the other night. A lot of you online were very concerned, and I believe it was also on the airwaves, that Cam Scattaboo, Abdul Carter, Ray Robertson Harris were at a wrestling event the other night, sitting in the front row. There was some jawing going on during the performance. Scattaboo was involved in the jawing, and then there was a little bit of shoving going on with Scattaboo and a couple of the wrestlers across that partition that separates the front row from the ring. Obviously, it's all part of the theater. It is all staged. Mike Kafka explaining that the team schedules these little road trips and these little side events for groups of players who want to go. They want to make it fun for the players. They want the players to bond together. So when they get together, they talk to the group called a player development group. There's a separate office within the Giants for that. And they talk about what can we do? What would we like to do? And they get together and they have someone from that department goes with them, whether it's a baseball game, a hockey game, a basketball game. Maybe it could be a tennis match. In this case, a boxing, UFC, pro wrestling. It could mean anything. But the Giants player engagement office will then try to make arrangements and see if they can do something to kind of have a field trip, if you will. And Kafka said he trusts the players and understands that, they're going there with someone from the player engagement department, and it's just a good event. It's something to keep the players together off the field, as they go through their off time. Also, Kafka praising the smarts of Isaiah Hodgins, who he claims he has a tremendous amount of confidence in and has great admiration for, being that he only got to the Giants last Thursday and then on Sunday wound up catching a handful of passes for over 55 yards. It converted a huge third down, converted a huge fourth down, and also blocked well in the run game. He said it was truly amazing at how he was able to pick so much up so quickly, even though he hadn't, played for the Giants since 24. Remember, he had gone to the San Francisco practice squad, then the Steelers practice squad in Pittsburgh. The Giants signed him right to the 53. Hodgins told me he came here. He was monitoring the Giants situation because he always wanted to come back here. And he was keeping track with his agent of the injuries to the receiving corps. But he didn't necessarily believe that the Giants would call him. Well, then all of a sudden the call comes in. He said he was in a total scramble trying to arrange for a flight to get here and was able to do it on Thursday. He said all he had was a pair of cleats with him. That's it. Got here, got out to practice, was able to get a couple of days in of study, which, as Kafka said, they knew he would, and they knew he would pick it up quickly. Obviously, there was a lot of stuff that was familiar to him. And they kind of told him, there's a chance, you might play 20 plays or so. That's what Hodgins expected against Green Bay. Well, he wound up playing most of the game. He said to me right after he got hit for the first time in the game, he got all the butterflies out. And he did admit that after the first opening drive of the game, when the Giants went all the way down the field and scored the touchdown that made it 7-0, he did admit to me when he got over to the sideline, he was kind of gassed. He was really, from all the excitement and the productivity on that drive, he did say he was kind of gassed. And then he was able to get his win back. And then he said the rest of the day went very well. And I asked him, well, specifically, how many plays were you able to memorize? How many plays did you actually know? And he said, well, there was a lot of stuff I was familiar with, and I was kind of figuring my way through. So it wasn't perfect. It wasn't beautiful, but it was good enough to get the job done because he really was very productive. He had a nice day. So we will see how things go with Isaiah Hodgins in week number 2 as they go to Detroit to take on the Lions on Sunday. I know a lot of you guys are fan favorites of Hodgins, and in truth, after the 2022 season, and of course that awesome playoff game in Minnesota when the Giants won that first-round matchup, Hodgins was very quiet in terms of production in 23 and 24. And that's just a fact. He didn't get to play a lot, and when he did play, didn't wind up with very many targets, and so his production really dwindled significantly. And so when his contract ran out, they didn't bring him back to training camp this year. And I understand that. And they make the call for him. Obviously, this was something Mike Kafka wanted to do because, as you guys probably know, Ray McLeod, who was active the previous 2 weeks, and that's a guy who Brian Dable knew from Buffalo, he was back on the practice squad. He didn't get any snaps against Green Bay. No, he did not at all. And with Neighbors out, Slayton out, McLeod went down to 0 snaps, and instead the call went in to Isaiah Hodgins. So that clearly tells you Dable was a McLeod guy. Kafka was a Hodgins guy. Mike's now in control. He went and got the guy he wanted, and the guy produced for him. So that's where that situation stands. All right. We'd be glad to talk to you about anything you want to talk about in terms of the state of the team or this game against the Detroit Lions. There are definitely a lot of angles to talk about Sunday's matchup. There is no question, though, folks. Let's not kid ourselves. The Lions, they're coming off a really, really rough game. I mean, I know a lot of you probably watched it. 16-9 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a controversial pass interference situation at the end of the game. At the end of the game. I get all that. Lions have lost 2 of their last 3 of their last 5. They are 6-4 on the season. 5th in offensive production at 29 points a game, tied for 10th best in defensive points allowed at only 22 a game. They are primarily built on their rushing attack. They do very well on 1st and 2nd down early in the series. They are not very good on 3rd down. In fact, only at 27%, way behind the Giants, who are at 40% on 3rd down. Let me correct myself. The Lions at 36%. That ranks 27th in the NFL. Giants are at 40.5%, ranking 12th in the NFL. Huge difference between the Lions and the Giants on 3rd down. The Giants, a significantly better 3rd down team than Detroit. But otherwise, again, 1st and 2nd down, Detroit knows what they're doing to move the ball, get it downfield, and more importantly, 67% on touchdown percentage inside the red zone. That is tied for 5th in the National Football League. And so that is a big factor for them. Clearly, their defense has been terrific. They are tied for 4th in the NFL with the fewest turnovers. They've only given the ball up 7 times this season, 4 interceptions and 3 fumbles lost. So they are a +5 in turnover ratio, which when you have a terrific defense and then you throw in a good turnover ratio, you understand why they are considered a legitimate playoff contender. Okay, there's a little bit on the Lions. I could go over their injury report, but again, not being there, I don't know how many of these guys, when we've talked about this on other shows, how many of these guys are literally injured for real and not working, or if they are on load management, being given a veteran's rest day off, or if they're just being kind of getting a day or two so they can kind of rehab their injuries. Not rest per se, but a day off for rehab. I will only mention that there were 5 Lions players who did not practice today. We do know Terrion Arnold, their really good corner, is in concussion protocol. It remains to be seen how that's going to shake down. Safety Brian Branch, big-time player, did not practice with a toe injury. Left tackle Tyler Decker has a shoulder injury and did not work. And he is the left tackle, would go mostly against Brian Burns in this game. 2-time All-Pro safety Kirby Joseph has a knee injury, did not practice. And starting right tackle Penei Sewell with a sore ankle did not practice. But again, without being there, I don't know exactly how significant those DNPs are. We'll learn a lot more tomorrow. And then obviously we'll get the final status report Friday afternoon when practice concludes out in Detroit. All right, that's enough for me. I've gone almost a half hour, and I've tried to get you guys caught up on the state of the Giants and what they're potentially looking at this week. If you want to get in, the chats are on the right of your screen. There you see down at the bottom, there, right there, it's coming right across. There's the link if you want to make a phone call or you want to make an audio call. And let's go to you guys. So Big Blue, Rich Big Blue says, good evening, Paul. The season is what it is. Keep Dart healthy. The defense is offensive. And on this day in 1978, we're not going to go there, Big Blue. I got your message on Twitter earlier today. We're going to deal with the present. That's the best way to go right now. Aiden Fink says, good evening, and everyone watching, of course. He says, Dart is the future of this franchise. Let him play. Rich Big Blue says, I concur, let him play, but if we are losing bad, get him out of there. That is one of the 5 hypothetical possibilities. Aiden Fink went with a different one, saying just let him play. Aiden also says, I think Dart still has a chance to get Offensive Rookie of the Year despite missing 4 games, hoping he plays all the remaining games and at a high level. Rich Big Blue says, do the players like Monday off versus the traditional Tuesday off? Mike Kafka was asked that earlier today and said he does believe that it was met with positive reviews in talking to the staff and to the players. Now, what Tyrone Tracy told the media yesterday is that it did allow the players to take the emotion out of watching the tape. Because as he explained, when you've heard so many times players say the 24-hour rule, right? You play the game, you got 24 hours to flush it. Whether or not you won, you got 24 hours to flush it, and then you come back on Tuesday and you're ready for the other opponent. Well, that's fine. That's fine. But with the change in schedule now, okay, what the Giants have done is they've said, all right, take Monday off, except for guys who need treatment and so forth, and then come in and we're going to work on Tuesday and we'll take a look at the film. Now, Tyrone Tracy said it allows you now to look at the tape without being emotional and caught up in how bad or angry or disgusted that you're feeling because you lost the game. He said you get a clearer vision and a clearer picture, and you can rationalize and analyze much more clearer by waiting until the corrections and watching the tape on Tuesday instead of on Monday. That was the one player who clearly expressed a difference from their perspective with the schedule change that Mike Kafka was able to implement this week. Queensboro Brother says, hello, Mr. Dottino. Offense looked decent except for the possible interceptions. Winston almost thrown. Ground attack was great. Need more of it. Well, yeah. No one's going to argue that. Winston could have been picked off 4 times in the game. Okay? But that's Jameis Winston. Okay? You know there are going to be chances for the defense to pick him off. That's just the nature of the beast. Okay? You can't avoid it. In fact, for his career, I believe it's 1 interception per every 29 passes, or 1 per 25 passes. It's somewhere in that range. I know it's 1 interception for less than 30 passes. I know it's either 25 or 29. I can't remember now the number. But, you're going to throw it 30 times, count on there being at least 1. That's just the way it is. But you're right. They ran the ball extremely well. I mean, Tyrone Tracy now has had back-to-back games where he looks like he is in gear. He is in rhythm. 70-plus yards against San Francisco, 80-plus yards against Green Bay. And Green Bay's rushing defense is really good. So that was a legit game by Tyrone Tracy the other day. Let's see here. What else do we have? Alman Duda says, whoa. Okay. Gary Gaston, 8521, says, hi, P-Dot. I'm happy we picked up Hodgins. Why didn't we pick him up as soon as Neighbors got injured? Well, Gary, I think from listening to Mike Kafka today, you could tell that he had a strong preference to get Hodgins in here. That's pretty obvious. He made it pretty clear he is a very big Isaiah Hodgins fan. Now, Mike Kafka was not the head coach earlier in the season, and therefore, it seems rather logical to say that Brian Daboll did not ask for the front office to go get Isaiah Hodgins. Instead, he preferred to go with some other receivers, including, as little as a few weeks ago, Ray McCloud. That's pretty simple to answer that one, Gary. To be honest, just look at the transaction wire and how the dates coincided when these players were brought into the locker room. Jeffrey Pettiford says, let's get Mark Ross, GM, Steve Spagnuolo, head coach, Antonio Pierce, defensive coordinator, Mike Sullivan, offensive coordinator for 2026. Big Blue. Well, you guys know how I feel about Steve Spagnuolo, which, by the way, there's a misspelling there, but we'll consider that a typo. You know how I feel about him. You know how I feel about Antonio Pierce. And I think most of you, if you've been following me for a long time, also know how I feel about Mike Sullivan. So, I'm certainly not going to shake my head at any of those names. Scott Young, 1669. Good evening, Paul. I prefer Jaxson Dart to play in order for Mike Kafka to have some success or a chance to get this coaching job. I'm pulling for Mike Kafka, can't play scared. Understood. And that is as good a rational and logical reason as any to for you to pick one of those 5 hypotheticals that we outlined. Gary Gaston comes back and says, I like how Kafka handles the press conferences. He's more informative than Dave's. Understood. Gary says, let Dart play, but if he gets dinged, I'm pulling him out. Well, Gary, if he gets dinged, the NFL is going to pull him out for you. You won't get a chance to make that decision. Armand Duda says, who thinks Dart shouldn't play when he's cleared? I can see why Cincinnati would think that about Joe Burrow, but Dart is a rookie. Armand, there are all kinds. Everybody has an opinion, and you know what they say about opinions, right? Everybody's got one. So everyone's entitled to one, and as long as you can come up with a rational, somewhat logical explanation, it may not be the best or the one that has the most weight to it, but if there's some rationality to it, if there's something logical about it, everyone's entitled to an opinion. There is no right or wrong answer on this. Bayall Love says every damn year with the injuries. Yes, indeed. Scott Young's back. He says, I know Eric Gray is a draft choice. He was, but I don't understand why Dante Miller still hasn't had a shot to play this season. His speed is unreal. Put this man on the field. I am a huge Turbo Miller fan. Scott, you know that. I have been asking for him to get an opportunity for quite a long time. Couple of things here. Number one, Eric Gray has only been activated for practice. Okay? He's on the injured list. He has simply been activated for practice. He has not been activated for a game yet. That's number one. The guy has rehabbed and busted his butt and gone through hell and back to make it to this point. He deserves the opportunity to practice with his teammates to see if he can give this thing a go. He does deserve that. Now, he is a much different player than Turbo Miller. Turbo Miller is a speed demon. He is much more of a scat back than Eric Gray is. They are two different styles of running backs. However it turns out over the next 6 weeks, I don't know who's going to wind up being activated, if either one of them will be, or they just decide they're going to stick with Devin Singletary and Tyrone Tracy. I don't know if there'll be a third active running back against the Lions. I truly don't. But these guys are two different styles. And clearly, the guy who is going to have a better chance to be the third back is going to be the guy who provides a favorable matchup for that particular game. It may turn out to be that each of them at some point over the next 6 weeks gets an opportunity to play. That could happen too. Queensboro Brother says, do you think Brian Burns can reach the season sack record like Strahan and LT? I suspect no. Now, he's on pace for 20. The reason I'm going to say no is I think that offensive lines, as you get down toward the end of the season, and the Giants, we know they're pretty much out of it. In fact, there is a mathematical computation that would eliminate the Giants from playoff contention this weekend. I don't want to get into it, but it is possible. I think what you will see is that offensive lines will have a tremendous amount of pride, and you will wind up seeing them dig in extra hard to try to prevent Burns from reaching Strahan's all-time NFL sack record. That's just a thought. I just suspect that that's the way it's going to go. And you know what? If it does, it does. It doesn't take away from the fact that Brian Burns, in my opinion, has had an all-pro season. He should be first-team All-NFL. In fact, I'm looking here. He's got the most sacks by a Giant since Jason Pierre-Paul had 16 and a half during the 2011 Super Bowl championship season. Rich Big Blue says, 1 hour with Paul is a blessing compared to watching the Giants in the fourth quarter of the season. Well, that's not a very high standard, Rich. If that's supposed to be a compliment, that did not work. Armand Duda says, this O-line is putting the fun in functional. Yes, there you go, Armand. There you go. I like that. I like that very much. That's a good comment. Nice way to use the words, and use a little pun there, a little bit of semantics. I like it. Scott Young says, as far as players on this offensive line, we got to get these guys back next year, whatever it takes. It's been years since we had a decent line. We can't mess it up now. Do I really need to go over this with you? I hate to say it, and I just want to make sure that I got this right, because I haven't really paid a lot of attention to it, but I want to make sure I got this right. Yeah, it is right. It is right. John Runyon is under contract for the 2026 season. I am glad to say. Andrew Thomas is as well. Jermaine Eluemenor, not. John Michael Schmitz. John Michael Schmitz is under contract for 26. So that's good news. And, of course, Greg Van Roten is not. He is on a one-year deal. So the right side of your offensive line, much like, as you remember, 3 years ago, much like the Las Vegas Raiders, Van Roten and Eluemenor, they were set free, and they followed Carmen Brasillo to the Giants. And that's where we're at right now. I don't know. I will say this. Marcus Bowe is ready to compete for a starting job in 2026. Now, should he be a starting guard? Should he be a starting tackle? Right now, the Giants see him as a tackle. So we will see. I do tend to agree with you. I would like to see Jermaine Eluemenor come back to this team. But that is going to be a serious money question. And the Giants, as you probably know, don't have a ton of cap room next year. They have some, but they don't have a ton. And they're not going to be able to chase guys to the bank. It will be one of those deals where if the player really wants to be here, he's probably going to have to give the Giants a little bit of a discount in order to stay. Isaac Moore, 1242. Dart wants to play. I get it, and they have to play him in a lost season. Hope he stays healthy. Mikey C, 483. Let's go Big Blue and P-Dot. Isaac Moore says, why do the Giants never dot their I's and or cross their T's? It seems like they are always missing something. Well, certainly in a losing season it does. Queensboro brother, don't want to venture off topic and shake the family tree. Who besides your significant other prepared the best Italian dish you ever had? For me, my mother made the best spaghetti. Love you, Mom. Well, that's awesome. First of all, I love the sentiment, okay? I love the sentiment. Now, believe it or not, okay, my wife is an outstanding cook of Italian food, and so is my daughter. But my wife is not Italian. She's German. She just happened to be taught to be really good at cooking food, and especially Italian food. So I will tell you that, in all honesty, the best homemade Italian food I've ever had, it's really my wife's and my daughter. Both of them would be 1 and 2. That's just the truth. Isaac Moore says, nothing beats Mom's spaghetti. Round Earth 5231 says, Turbo has only one straight line speed, not shifty enough. I disagree with that. I think that was the case when he was on the practice squad as a rookie last year. I do believe that he showed me during training camp and preseason that he is now more than a straight line runner. I understand your comment. I just think it's got some dust on it. I think that's the 2024 Turbo, not the 2025 Turbo. He also comes back with, Paul, do you think Abdul Carter should play off-ball linebacker or strictly edge? Look, this linebacking core is decimated. You play him wherever you can get snaps out of him. I mean, it's just that simple. It's a mess. And with Thibodeau out right now, we don't know exactly how this is going to go down this week. I mean, is he going to be able to play on Sunday or not? He's got a shoulder. If he doesn't, then you got to put Carter on the outside. You don't have a choice. If he does come back, you can mix it up again like they've been doing all year. Armand Duda says, my Uncle Joe made the best raviolis. Okay. So that gets us through our chats for now. No phone calls, no video calls. And we've got about 5 minutes left in the program tonight. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through some of the interesting facts regarding this Giants Detroit Lions game, unless you guys have something else you want to hit me up with. And then we'll just kindly sign off. One of the things, oh my goodness, it's Tudo. Tudo is back. He has been missing for a little bit, and I was very curious. And not only is Tudo back, look at this. He is a super user again. Welcome back, Tudo. And thank you, as always. It is great to have you back. He said, let's see here. Respect to Big Paul, king of New York Giants media, and all diehard Giant fans across the pond. Greetings from our entire Italian national rugby team currently in South Africa. Oh, boy. All right. So you went off the continent, Tudo. You went off the continent from Europe to Africa. So enjoy your travels. Have a wonderful stay, however long it is over there, and have a great game. Go win it. As always, we love hearing from you, and it's great to see you, and or at least see your tweet, or not your tweet, but your chat. And again, look at all these people saying hello. Of course, everybody knows Tudo. He has been one of our originals and one of our most loyal. And then recently, somehow, some way, we kind of lost track of him for a few shows, but he's back, and that's awesome. So glad. Anyway, I did want to give you a couple of very key stats before we close out the program. And, of course, we'll be back again on Friday morning with our New York Giants 3 key matchups to watch in particular as the Giants try to go out to Detroit and knock off the Lions. One of the very, very important numbers is that the Detroit Lions, guys, it's 2 important numbers I give to you. They only have 11 drops on the season. Now, Goff was horrific the other day against the Philadelphia Eagles. He had a really, really rough game. But check this out. His team has only dropped 11 of his passes so far this year. That's an average of 1 a game. Okay? So they don't let him down. They make plays for him. They finish plays for him. That's a big deal. Okay? That's a big deal. What else is a big deal? The Detroit Lions have only missed 40 tackles as a defense this season. That is the fewest in the National Football League. 40 missed tackles. 40. And they're 6-4, so that's 4 a game. Now, back during the Parcells era, he would still cringe at 4. But in today's NFL, they've got the fewest missed tackles in the league this year with only 40. Oh, Tudo does it again. Look at this. Paulie, we are 9-4 as we speak. Please pray for my victims. All right, 9-4. I know that. That's terrific. I know that is more than 67% winning percentage. That's sweet. And thanks again, Tudo. Of course, another super user hit from Tudo here over on the chat. Scott Young says, the thing is, Detroit is a totally different team in the Dome than they are when they're outside of the cold. Going to be interesting Sunday to see how the Giants do. Scott, you are right. It's something I wanted to highlight on Friday. I'll give it to you right now. They're 3-1 at home and 3-3 on the road. There are some significant statistical differences, but I'm going to save that for Friday's 3 key matchups show. But you are absolutely correct. 3-3 on the road, 3-1 at home. They are a much different team at home. Osorian says, trying to get on the video call here, don't know what happened. And he mentions Russo Radio. Well, it is 8:59, so to be honest, we're just about to close up shop tonight anyway. So I would invite you to call back on Monday, not Monday. We'll have our 3 key matchups for the Giants on Friday's taped program. That'll be posted on Friday morning here on the New York Giants on SI YouTube channel and media network. We'll be back with our game balls and gassers for the Giants on Monday morning. That gets posted early then. Offense, defense, and special teams. You know how we do the drill there. And then next Wednesday, we'll be back 8 p.m. Eastern Time, live with another show. I would appreciate perhaps on that program if you could come back to us. We'll do another show then, again, Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. And please, by all means, we'll see if we could somehow talk you through it, and you can get in with an audio or a video phone call. And if we can't make that happen, we will then try to just do the chats, because we certainly want you to participate. And look at this. Tudo has done it again. Tudo with the hat trick of super chats. There you go. Tudo says, Paulie, please sign me up on Giants rosters, and I'll promise you there won't be any quarterback, O-lines, or ball carriers walk off the pitch on their own powers, mate. Wow. It sounds like Tudo wants to be an edge rusher. I'm thinking he wants to be a stand-up guy like Brian Burns. I don't think he wants to be a defensive end. I think he wants to be a stand-up edge rusher like Burns. And Aiden says, sign Tudo. I don't know how much it would take. I got a feeling that they could make a deal, though. Aiden says, Joe Shane, are you watching? Tudo, thank you so much for getting in again on this program. I know we've missed you for a couple of shows. I do appreciate it. That will do it for this edition of the Big Blue Breakdown. Again, we've given you the schedule. We're back on Friday. We're back on Monday. And we're back with another live show next Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the Big Blue Breakdown Live, the state of the Giants, and a preview of their Monday Night Football game in Foxborough against the New England Patriots. Until next time, I'm Paul Dottino saying so long, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us once again tonight.